Today on the Topping Show, Eli Mystal says that our country must be saved from white men. Megyn Kelly calls out Jake Tapper for covering up Biden's health decline. Biden's alleged autopen signatures for Hunter Biden, Fauci, and more also go viral. The Waffle House is about to get EV chargers, and Aston Martin recalls Valkyrie. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Waffle House about to get EV chargers for some reason. Now this is brought to us thanks to Ronan at thedrive.com. And he says, quote, "You'll be able to fast charge your EV during your next Waffle House brawl. Late night post-party meals just got a whole lot better. Select Waffle House locations get 400 kilowatt fast chargers in 2026. And here, of course, you can see the iconic Waffle House establishment, which, as time moves on and national disasters come and go, elections come and go, seems to be one steady thing in the United States is there can and will be a Waffle House present no matter what. Now, I'm not sure how or why you'd want to have an EV charger at a Waffle House, considering I can't but think most people get, well, I want to say 80 or 90, but I would venture to guess 98% of all Waffle House revenue comes in at 2 in the morning from inebriated individuals. I might be ever exaggerating just a little bit, but how many of those folks have EVs? Is that really a value add to have an EV charger at a Waffle House? Starbucks, sure, people that go to Starbucks have vast amounts of disposable income or are not fiscally responsible, so they probably spent a lot of money on disposable EV. But when I think of, budget, people are trying to track their pennies and pinch pennies, I think Waffle House, I can't venture to guess more than 4% of the Waffle House customers have EVs. Again, I'm just guessing here. They should have like a diesel refueling station. That would make sense. But nevertheless, we'll dive into the article. They say, quote, "Arguments about the pros and cons of driving an EV are coming to one of America's most argumentative prone restaurant chains. EV Pulse said it would install 400 kilowatt DC fast chargers at select Waffle House locations across the U.S. What a waste. Instead of across the U.S., let's be honest, it should just be in California. Like, in areas where you have vast density of EV owners, maybe, but like, do you really need this in like Iowa? No, probably not. Now, they say, so you might be able to top off your battery pack while you're arguing with a complete stranger at 125 after ordering a bacon, egg, and cheese hash brown bowl. Partnering with Waffle House will allow BP Pulse to expand its network of charging stations to the south and southeast. Both areas of high dense EV ownership." Aha! Sarcasm. Now say, while the list hasn't been fully released, at least they'll start in Texas, Georgia, and Florida before moving to other states. Each restaurant will get 6 charging bays equipped with a mix of CCS and NACS connectors. Linking arms with Waffle House makes perfect sense. They say, beyond the late night crawl, the chain is famous for never being closed. True. Most locations are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Scientists even use the so-called Waffle House Index as an informal metric to rank severity of a thunderstorm. You should probably start worrying about finding shelter if you roll up to Waffle House and see "sorry, we're closed" sign. True. They say this means EV drivers will be able to order food, get coffee, and use the bathroom while they wait for their car to charge, regardless of when they roll into the Waffle House parking lot. This is great news if you're planning a road trip across the South and have an EV. Which, again, I'm not sure how many people will appreciate these EV chargers stations at a Waffle House. I mean, a couple of comments here. John Tarr says, "What an incredible waste of effort. In my town, we have one EV charging station. No one's ever there." Liz Buzzin says, "This sounds like an article from The Onion. I can charge my Easy Go golf cart there, or do I need an adapter?" Let's see. Corinthian Leatherface says maybe the automakers can program their EV with a synthesized voice that yells out "World Star," unquote. Let's see. Yeah, most of the comments are just viciously roasting the idea of this. I mean, it is true that Waffle House is pretty much open consistently forever. I mean, I understand that in terms of having a place you can hang out while you charge your EV. But in terms of the average person who shops at Waffle House, I just think it's a enormous waste of money. Perhaps it will belong in the business blunder section of the show in a couple of months, or maybe in, well, I was going to say a couple of months, in a year or two when, they finish rolling this out. But let me know. I mean, do you own an EV? And if so, have you ever gone to a Waffle House? And if you don't own an EV, I mean, would you ever get one and then go to Waffle House for that purpose? Let me know. Let me know. What do you think is the upside of this situation? But of course, put in the comments because always be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Pride podcast, you have Eli Mystal saying that there's a great threat in the United States and is white folks. The United States must be saved from us. Well, them. I guess I'm half Cuban, but nevertheless, entertaining and mentally vacuous as always, Mr. Eli. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness on X, and he just actually quotes Eli. So without too much further ado, let's have this grifter say what he has to say. Though he did do one smart thing in his life, granted, comically low bar. He did put on a suit. Though, obviously, he's mentally vacuous. Additionally, he has a disposable water bottle in the background, which, talk about a waste of money. It looks like he's at his home office, and you're paying for disposable water bottles. Also, they claim, these people claim to love Mother Gala and the earth and environmentalist. And they, aren't you having a war against plastic? But I partially digress. Let's hear what Eli has to say.
That this election has proven, that this administration has proven painfully in some ways, is that Black people cannot save this country from white folks. We can't do it alone, right? If white folks aren't going to join in, if white women aren't going to join in, if Latinos aren't going to join in, we can't do it alone. That this election has proven.
What? I mean, if he's talking about like voting demographics and voting based on race, I mean, I'm not sure he's trying to extrapolate this, but I mean, incidentally enough, like white liberal women overwhelmingly voted against Donald Trump when he's talking about, political changing of the country. They were actually them and their cats are the number one people who hated Donald Trump. Well, are in hate of Donald Trump. And this went pretty viral, about 750,000 views and 7.4 thousand likes. Now, this isn't the number one comment by number of likes, but it is the handsomest one. It's me, hashtag the Topping Show on X, and I say, quote, "Hey, I find retards, got you another one, bud," getting 6 likes. The Gas Stove, which is becoming one of my favorite profiles because they're such a contrarian, that's why I follow him. And their name is literally described as professional gaslighter, masturbator, which I'm not sure he's a fishing enthusiast, but nevertheless. He says, quote, "Eli Mystal is correct. Black people and brown people together can save this nation. Otherwise, they'll be deported by this authoritarian regime." Gained 25 likes. And 178 comments, which kind of shows you engagement baiting does work, because he has more replies or comments to his comment than anyone else. And pulling him up, Lamp Checker said, "I had to read this entire several times because I couldn't tell if you were kidding," getting 68 likes. I said, Mark B says, "In the immortal words of sage known as Steve Harvey, you a dummy." CJA says there's 7.5 billion people of color and 7 billion. Wait, what? Number can't be right. This person says there are 7.5 billion people of color and 7 billion earn $1 to $3 a day in the third world. People are waking up in their countries with about 6 billion and 7 billion in the third world. Don't have toilets. Good luck, morons. Again, 36 likes. Going back to the main comment section, I've got the Eagleman says, quote, "He seems a bit racist," getting 726 likes. Paul Zuzupa says, quote, "I'm not sure who's more racist against white people, Eli Mystal or Joy Reid." Ooh, that'd be a tough call. Both equally mentally vacuous as well, I would argue. Let's see here. Womack says, "Please make this clown makeup on this bozo." Getting 15 likes, and he uses Grok to put clown makeup on, getting 53 likes. You also have, let's see here, Rika saying, quote, "That's a bold and provocative statement from Eli Mystal, highlighting how deeply systematic issues are tied to racial power structures. It's a call for everyone across the backgrounds to confront and dismantle white supremacy and work together towards true justice. Cannot just happen. Change cannot happen if any groups is left to carry the burden alone," which, grammar aside, also mentally vacuous. Penguin says, white supremacy doesn't exist, just STFU cuck. 98 likes. David says, why are you using ChatGPT and or AI to write this bullshit? Is it because you can't come up with anything original yourself? Getting 80 likes. Revolution Replay says, it sounds like someone has a deranged white liberal would say, getting 42 likes. Which, let's look at Raika's profile. Claims to be a CISO. We'll see. Let's see, going back to the main comment section. The broad tweet says, you have and will never encounter white supremacy. You're disgusting for pretending. Gained 37 likes. Which, yeah. But again, I mean, he's a moron, but he's probably going to raise millions of dollars selling his books and going on those talk shows and get more popular. So, I mean, his shtick is working for now, but I think on average, most people are tired of this race baiting thing. But leave me thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, Megyn Kelly calling out Jake Tapper for covering up Biden's decline of mental cognitive abilities and or health in general. Also brought to us thanks to Egg Wokeness. And he says, quote, Megyn Kelly calls out Tapper for selling books about Biden's decline after he himself was helping with the cover-up. Tapper says, I don't think that's true. Megyn then rolls the tape, which is priceless. And somehow, I forgot SiriusXM even exists. Is that who Megyn Kelly has the contract with? Or is that a gentleman she is interviewing has that in the background? Yeah, I forgot. No, I think she's independent still. When's the last time you heard of SiriusXM? Back in my day when you bought a vehicle made by General Motors, they gave you a subscription for that. Then you had to pay for it, which I only think 3 people did. But nevertheless, without too much further ado, this is credited to actually the Megyn Kelly Show.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you are
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
that's so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I
a
think that you
stuttering.
were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
A douche.
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
Yeah, he's also the same idiot who, right before Biden went on the debate with Donald Trump, he said, oh yeah, Biden is the sharpest, most articulate he's ever been. Then during the debate, obviously, he tried to debate Donald Trump, and Joe Biden crashed worse than a Boeing airplane, which is saying something. Now, this went incredibly viral, getting 3.4 million views and 79,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to, let's see here, and Wokeness actually continued. So here's his response.
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well, and she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean, after we did the research for this book, and I realized how bad his acuity issues were.
Only then did he realize Biden had a cognitive decline.
Like I called Laura Trump and I said you were right.
She was totally right.
What a bootlicker, Jake Tapper. Now, going back to the main comments, you have the gas stove being a contrarian usual, saying, quote, I trust Jake Tapper. Biden staff hid his cognitive facilities. I was going to say, this show is video evidence that I actually do have a stutter. So even when I do, get old, feel, yeah, that stutter's been there the whole time. But nevertheless, he also said that's why 99% of the country didn't know Biden was incapacitated. Got 76 likes and 297 comments, which again is a great example of getting clicks from being a contrarian, as well as engagement clicks, or what do you call it? Engagement farming. Now, Lux says, I remember when I was blind for 4 years, getting 29 likes. Outlaw Josie Wales says 99.9%. Frankly, after his masterful withdrawal from Afghanistan and his brilliant debate performance, I doubt a single American would have believed he ever once grabbed his pants on camera, getting 77 likes. The silent majority says you trust Jake Tapper, LOL, getting 25 likes. Machine Gan says it was out in the open. We saw it, what Laura was seeing. We don't need to be a doctor to see that, getting 9 likes. Yeah. Right back to the main comment section. Well, let's see here. Got a Country says they lied about Joe Biden's health for over 4 years. That's all the cliche douchebag late night hosts that are, obviously all leftists, getting 978 likes. Let's make it 979. And let's be honest, that's not the one. Shoot, what don't they lie about would be a better question. That list would be much shorter. Voted for this, says, quote, CNN business model. Gaslight Americans, then write a book pretending you were the hero all along. Getting 764 likes. Scrolling down more and more. I love American News, says, quote, they're covering up the Diddy trial. It says, May says, I'm just curious, what exactly are we not supposed to be focusing on because of Joe Biden's prostate? Getting 169 likes. TBOF says he knows he's full of shit. It's just a screenshot of Tapper looking like he's dead inside, and obviously he sold out years ago. Getting 572 likes. No, 592 likes. 93. Going up like stock. Ravens fan. They have fans? I'll be damned, they do. Now, Ravens fan says, quote, Jake Tapper's the biggest lying shit, and no one should buy his book. Getting 45 likes. Yeah. I don't think any people will buy his book. NGOs and, the government, they might do it. Going down more and more. Noah Christopher says, classic media hypocrisy. Tapper cashes in on Biden's decline after helping hide it. It's a betrayal for millions of Americans who relied on honest reporting. Trump's supporters see right through this double game. Real leadership means transparency, not spin. Getting 110 likes. Yeah. And again, I maybe it'll be a best-selling book because some company will buy them all mysteriously. You see that a lot with politicians especially. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part podcast, you have Joe Biden's alleged autopen pardons going viral. As also brought to us thanks to N. Wilkins, who's on a roll today. And he says, quote, who signed the autopen pardons? It's a video brought to us thanks to the Oversight Project. Let's see here. And this is the pardon from Biden's family member, or the one he gave, Joe Biden allegedly gave to Joseph R. Biden Jr. You got one for Joseph R. Biden Jr. again. You have that's Lundgren, the General Milley, Fauci, and you look at that, look at that signature, and they are literally exactly the same. So yeah, everyone, these are all also, on his last day in office. And with some of the pardons that he's written and some of the statements he's written throughout his alleged presidency, it was later found out, he's actually in another country. He wasn't in the office signing crap. And yet, stuff was signed. Now, some moderately viral. It got about 2.7 million views as well as 36,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to Paul Zupa saying, quote, autopen signed all of the pardons for Biden. They're all void on pardon, getting 715 likes. He also gave out preemptive pardons. I think it was done once before, like 200 years ago. But it's never been challenged. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, Barack Obama getting 535 likes. It's probably propensity that happened. Livercat Media TM says, quote, who controls the autopen controlled Biden and was the unelected president, getting 63 likes. Rika says, why do you think Trump and any other president, when mass signing, doesn't use autopen? It's standard practice and has been for a while, getting 42 likes. I also think that's why Trump is going out of his way, or, he always makes sure that the camera's always rolling when he's doing all of his executive orders and he's signing all his documents. I suspect because I think Trump should maybe do an executive order or do work to have some type of law passed so that, all documents signed by the U.S. president actually has to be done by him. And I would argue even be done on camera so that we should actually know he has his cognitive abilities, which, let's be honest, Joe Biden clearly did not. Granted, maybe some of that was because of the cancer medicine he may have been on, because I don't think anyone believes the cancer diagnosis just came, a couple weeks ago. No one's buying that for a minute. Now, you also have Johnny J saying, "It doesn't matter. The GOP and DOJ are too chicken shit to hold anyone accountable anyway." Yeah, 153. Let's make it 154 likes because, yeah, let's just say Republicans and GOP, they're like the ultimate failure of a sports ball team. As I try to, in futile, to make a sports ball analogy, it's like they'll get to the Super Bowl, but then they'll fumble, or more accurately, they'll hand off the ball to their team and let them score. I was going to say, it's almost been, almost 100 years, and the Republicans haven't gotten off their ass to repeal the NFA Act, also known as the National Firearms Act of 1934, which is unconstitutional, disgusting, and tyranny. Basically, you could have your rights if you pay a tax stamp and do extra paperwork, which is obviously bullshit. And yet they say they're pro-gun, and they're fighting for our rights. No, they basically just make themselves rich. So, yeah, we'll see. That's why I actually agree with that comment. I'm pretty skeptical to think, what will come from this? Probably nothing, unfortunately. Atticus Fitch says, quote, "Biden ordered it. That's all that matters legally." I got 51 likes and 21 comments. Dr. Dan says he's not competent, so let's make it 5 likes. Atticus Fitch, I don't know how drunk this guy is. He says, "Except he was. A bad interview or debate doesn't mean he didn't render him incompetent. He clearly understood what he was doing the vast majority of the time." Definitely a Biden voter or Kamala supporter. Yeah, there's no way Biden was in charge. They rolled him off. They literally pushed him out when he was running for president again and installed Kamala. They did it because he failed so much during the debate. And yet this person goes, "Oh yeah, Biden was cognitive. He couldn't give a coherent interview and they hit him for months." And again, I understand some of that might be because of side effects of the drugs they had to be on for cancer treatments, maybe. That's obviously, also if you're in that position, probably shouldn't be president. But yeah, a lot of people are just commenting this guy like saying he's not competent enough to order pizza. How do you know he's competent? Yeah, so this guy's kind of alone in that assessment, saying Biden ordered it and it's all that matters. Because again, I don't think anyone believes Biden actually ordered it either. Now, again, many presidents have ordered, set documents to be signed and stuff like that. Let's also outside their cognitive ability. The U.S. government concluded that Biden did not have his cognitive ability. They did that legally so that they didn't charge him for the improper storage of the classified documents. But again, by that very case, they said, "Oh yeah, we're not going to charge him because he's not there cognitively speaking." That's why he wasn't technically charged or held accountable. And yet he was still allowed to be president and apparently, allegedly, do a bunch of executive orders. So have Cheesecake saying, quote, "Autopen gate has begun. This has the potential to be the biggest constitutional crisis in our country's history. For all of the liberals screaming about Trump, it turns out that they were the ones doing what they were accused of." Is anyone shocked? Getting 343 likes, 44 likes. Well, that's age-old methodology. Accuse the opposition what they themselves are doing. SS Cartoon says, "Mom, did Dad really sign this?" It's a Hunter Biden cartoon with him on drugs. Then you have his evil witch of a wife, or not Hunter's evil witch of a wife. That was, I think, his brother's wife, who might be a good person. I don't know her. But Hunter's mom says, "Sort of." And they have a robot connected to Joe Biden's arm, and it's just scribbling executive orders. I got 670 likes. 71. Going down more and more. Metal Rens, a contrarian statement, says, "Now show the signature, pardon January 6th R words and criminals," which no one abused anyone in that way at the January 6thers, as far as I know. And yeah, never forget, the police opened the doors and guided people through. But nevertheless, that did get 55 likes. Let's see here. And the first comment is, "Propaganda is an extremely effective tool on local IQ individuals. You're a perfect example," getting 25 likes. Living in California, poor son of a bitch, stuck behind enemy lines in a high tax, high regulation, low freedom area like that. Or SOB. Now, Mr. Living in California says, "Now show us all the summer-long peaceful protesters that destroyed property, killed and hurt people, and never got arrested," getting 12 likes. I guess George Floyd Summer of Love riots. Or $2 billion in property damage, and over 37 people dead, murdered. Yeah. Someone has a picture, Eastside has a picture of Obama, says, "Well, I guess I could try Obama's accent, though it might be a terrible attempt. Well, they call me the autopen." Which, yeah, probably the worst Obama impression this year, but there's still plenty of months left. That got 35 likes. Not me, but that picture. Going on more and more. Just Guy says, yeah, and why wasn't anyone on the Republican side doing due diligence? The Republican Party is complicit in the cover-up, getting 37 likes. But no, not really any comments to it. A lot of people have memes and memes of Obama with all these going to him, with, labels like the FBI, or is it FBI, Deep State, autopen. Yeah, so we'll see if we ever actually get to the bottom of this. But let me know, do you think, just for national security alone, should we make it completely illegal to use autopen if you're the president of the United States? They do have to sign a lot of documents, but it also seems to be a very easy way to manipulate the data or, make false documents if you just, have the autopen working 24/7. You could easily have the president incapacitated, which I'm pretty sure we've seen with the Biden administration. But as always, let me know in the comments because it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day of Aston Martin recalling their iconic Valkyrie car. That is brought to us thanks to Fred Smith over at Road and Track. And when she says, quote, Aston Martin recalls 11 road car versions of the Valkyrie in the United States. The hypercars are being recalled because of incorrect length screws installed on a fuse panel box that could potentially cause damage to the wiring harness, which I was going to say, right off the bat, or, as is, they're already not great marvels of engineering when it comes to electronics with, British vehicles. But yeah, this is a little bit worse because I was going to say this costs more than my car times probably 20 by now, but more in the house in most areas. There you see a little picture of the Aston Martin right there. Let's get a better picture of it. First picture is better. There we go. They say, quote, Aston Martin is recalling a small handful of examples of his Valkyrie hypercar in the United States over an issue that could potentially damage wiring harnesses. Fewer than a dozen were impacted by the recall, which is dated May 8th. According to the filing with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the Valkyrie problem is caused by screws of incorrect length that attach a panel to a rear fuse box. Aston Martin's recall bulletin does not say if the screws were too long or too short, but the offending parts can apparently, quote, clash with the wiring harness. That can lead to a heat damage to the fuse box, which could in turn lead to a loss of power steering, headlights, and other functions. Because the issue is just one set of screws, the recall posting states that 7 9.53 millimeter screws are the only parts needed to complete the repair, and suggests the job will require only an hour labor, which that might be the saving grace in terms of, your hypercar gets recalled, it costs, what is it, like 1.2 million plus for these things? Yeah, you don't want a lot of downtime for that. You don't want this to be, in the garage for like weeks or months. Now they say, quote, that should only make for a relatively cheap and straightforward fix, even though the Valkyrie is one of the most expensive, complicated, and generally ambitious cars ever sold. They say the recall just impacts 11 cars, all built between May 2021 and October 2024. That number is more substantial when considering the Aston Martin plan to build only 275 Valkyries globally, with 40 of those units reserved for a track-only AMR Pro variant. That means the recall of 11 cars still covers nearly 5% of all Valkyries ever built, and presumably much higher percentage of Valkyries are sold in the US, which, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's safe to say since the US is one of the best markets for luxury vehicles and performance vehicles. And again, Aston Martin's already, they already have the reputation of not having the best reliability ratings. They depreciate pretty much like a rock, arguably worse than a Mercedes. Though again, Aston Martin does make beautiful design vehicles. They always look amazing. I think they partially have the partnership with James Bond for the past decades plus to credit their allure and their brand establishment. But again, I was going to say, it's a great car to drive. And shoot, a V12 to stick shift, that's a great combo. Would love to have one before I expire. But yeah, I was going to say, having a recall on your $1 million plus vehicle, just because apparently you didn't actually get the right screws right. Gotta say, Aston Martin, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.